2. Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net in Baltimore Positive. Yes, it's football season, but you know I got the rock and roll soul, and I tell you what, I've put the Billy Joel shirt on from the Camden Yards appearance. And we're going to have a big night on Saturday night. We're going out to Big Cork Vineyards. I've been out there 2 other times, but this time there's the music of Billy Joel and the Big Shot Band, and I have been waiting to talk to this guy. Mike DelGuidice joins us now from the island, and that's not the Eastern Shore, that's Long Island, where he is a member of Billy Joel's band and a Billy Joel tribute band and about to bring us some good tidings on Saturday night. Mike, I'm such a fan of Billy Joel. I've seen you do the Italian arias and on stage and whatnot. This is going to be a beautiful, beautiful night. I really appreciate you taking a little time to share the love of the music of William Joel,
Oh, absolutely. That's what we get from it. So we get nothing but love playing it. So it's a beautiful thing.
Dude, your story's so amazing, right? And I interviewed Billy years ago and, have some pictures and autographs and some stories to tell and whatnot back on the Bridge Tour and Stormfront back in the 80s. Man, your story's unbelievable, and I don't, want to tell it. I kind of want to bring it out of you a little bit. And I think anybody that's familiar with who you are and being in the band and where this came from the last few years, but this is just an incredible magic carpet ride. And more than that, you're not only playing with Billy all over the world, but then you bring this and his band out for people that may have been at Camden Yards a month and a half ago. Maybe it was a little too rich for their blood. Maybe they were at the beach, whatever. But this is another chance to come out and experience a beautiful night, the magic of the music that we love so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better.
Well, for you, with your story in the band, you're going to say it better than that. Now, I mean, you're a guy from the island playing in a tribute band, and you wind up on stage literally last night with Billy Joel in Madison Square Garden. It's a hell of a story, man.
Yeah, this is. I mean, it's one of those situations, and I say this all the time because I get asked, these questions a lot, and I just say I feel like I'm in the middle of a hurricane, and I'm not going to know the kind of after effect that it had or what the effect it had until after. And I always say that because I'm in it, and it's a swirling positive storm. I shouldn't relate it to a hurricane.
A storm front. How about that? Just a storm front. That's a good album, right?
Yeah, storm front. There you go. And it's just one of those situations where things are happening at such a accelerated rate in the last 6 years, career-wise, that there's so many things. There's so many memories, and I literally go onto my phone and I'll just now look back in photos from 2014 and I'm just blown away that all that happened. It's all happened so fast that it's just an amazing, amazing experience. It's pretty indescribable.
Well, yeah, and I think more than anything for you, your background in loving the music, right? Because you're not the first tribute artist I've ever spoken to, right? You're not the first person the singer in Kansas, the singer in Foreigner, the people that take the roles and places in bands, and my friend Lawrence Gowan in Styx, coming from a whole different life. But this, Arnel Pineda in Journey, right? Like these from the other side of the world, right? Your story's unique in that you grew up in the Billy Joel environment, right, where everybody in Long Island knows every word to every song. And if you're going to put your ass on stage, everybody has seen the dueling piano bar where it's 9 o'clock on a Saturday. Everybody's seen that, but to do it professionally in that environment where you did it for so long that it even got to Billy Joel's attention, to be honest, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's only because at the time there really wasn't anybody. There wasn't a lot of other acts doing what we did, and it was around 2000 when we first started this. So I'll have to say that back then I think there was maybe a couple of Billy Joel impersonators in Vegas and that kind of thing. But we didn't want to do that. We didn't want it to be an impersonation act. We just want to celebrate the music. We love his music. I love every configuration of bands that he's had over the years. I know all the players. I know a lot of them personally. I've known some that have passed. Tragically, I know one. I mean, it's one of those situations where Billy has just been in my life, whether it's been doing the tribute band or doing piano bar or being in his band. It's just kind of like, Long Island is just that. I mean, Long Island is Billy Joel. I mean, there's no, and then when you think about it, to do a tribute band at the time that I did it, it was just kind of raw and new. and I had only heard of another tribute band on Long Island. And I was like, "What's a tribute? What do you mean? What tribute band?" I'm like, "I mean, like, do one artist all night?" Like,
well, the word wasn't tribute then. The word was impersonator, right? That's kind of what it was at that point, right?
I guess, yeah, because it's like it didn't. We were doing top 40 bands. Everybody, Long Island had the best top 40 scene back in the '90s. It was unbelievable. Every band playing like all different kinds of music. You'd rarely heard of a band ever playing one artist ever in the '90s. I'd not heard of it. You know what I mean?
Did you ever get on stage and do Hall & Oates songs or the '80s? I mean, did you do other things other than Billy Joel on a stage?
With Billy or
no, before you were in cover band, you were in all those kind of bands. Okay, sure.
Well, yeah, we did. I did my own solo thing, but then I also we were in a band, Kid Gloves, for a couple of years, and we did all the top 40 stuff of the day, which was really more. We were more rock, the more rock side to Seattle. We did some of the cover the Seattle stuff, but anything pop on radio that was really hip at the time, if it was an Alanis song or whatever like that.
Spin Doctors of that era, sure, yeah.
All of that, yeah. Pearl Jam, all the way back to Black Sabbath and Rush, and a big classic rock fan. So we did all that stuff. Yeah, I mean that was the stuff that I was really living on for a long time.
See, I feel bad that I was wearing a Rush shirt 5 minutes ago, and I took it off to put the Billy Joel shirt on to try to impress you on the webcam, but that didn't work.
That's a disgrace. That's a disgrace.
To put the Rush shirt on? Come on, man.
Yeah, no.
Mike DelGuidice.
Dude, I love Billy, but I'm a big Rush fan, bro. You got to go.
Yeah, so you put Big Shot together. You're going to be out at Big Cork this week. What can we expect from your show? And I know at various points you've done all sorts of things with all sorts of members of the band. I've interviewed Mark, over the years. Billy was so kind to me back in the 80s, and, I was such a fan of his, and he took time with me when I was a 19-year-old kid to answer my questions, and I played that. So, I would think for you back in the day, did you go see Billy in Nassau or whatever when you were a kid like that?
My concert experiences as a kid was all classic rock. My first Billy Joel show, I got into Billy Joel playing him from middle of high school. You know what I mean? I was playing his songs. And I came right out of high school doing piano bar for about 10 years or more. So I was always listening to his music and playing his music, but I hadn't seen him until I think it was 2002 or 2003 when he invited us to the Nassau Coliseum to do sound check on his equipment.
But you had never met him, never in an elevator, never hanging out at the grocery store.
I met him. I met him tragically. I met him, but it was at Doug Stegmeyer's party.
Understood.
After he passed, so we walked in. We walked in the door. Actually, ironically, at the exact same time, he was walking right in behind me, and I didn't see him. And he just said, "Is this how we get in?" And I turned around and I saw it was him, and I almost, I was dumbfounded a little at the moment and also heartbroken. So I just said, "Yeah. I think this is where we go in." And that was really the extent of my first time seeing him, right next to me, and saying hello or saying something like that. But I didn't really get to meet him until '02, and even that was, it was vague still. It was still kind of vague, But he was he's so good to us. I mean, he just invited us out, come play on my stuff. I got tickets, get you free tickets, get your car service. But yeah, I mean, it was really a sweet gesture on his part back then, and that's what sparked his interest, I think, in me. And he was already doing the Moving Out. He already had the Moving Out show going, or he already had a cast. And then he was thinking of me, I think, at some points for maybe doing some backup work on that. They had already cast Michael Cavanaugh, which is great. I love Michael; he's great. And so they already had him cast, and then it kind of over the years it just kind of dissipated. I did a couple of auditions to do backup stuff for the Moving Out show. I completely,
But you were doing Billy's music 3 nights a month in a bar somewhere, right? For people making money, right?
Yeah. We were. Well, that's the thing is that it was like. We were already doing this. This was already running ship, and it was the first business that I had actually, as far as in music, a steady gig is really important in music. If you can get a steady gig, it's something that you treasure. And if it's something that's your own and there's no limit to where you could take it and that you can actually make than you would, and a normal kind of situation in a band where you're the band leader and that it's different. It was different with Big Shot. I started at that. I said to myself, if I'm going to make a career of this, I have to think of a way to make enough money to do that, to at least feed the kids and do all that. And that was really the start of Big Shot, and the start of me finally making some consistent money and going, wow, I could do this, and that was a real charge, like wow, I could do this. And I was really still infantile in green, so in so many senses of the word, stage-wise or even business-wise.
Despite having been in bands forever, right? And going to club owners and collecting your cash at the end of the night.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, I would sometimes brawls, to get paid.
It's 3
what I mean?
a.m. He's drunk. He's got the money. You're trying to get it. I was in a cover band.
Yeah.
Springsteen wrote in his book all about the Jersey Shore and the nefarious club owners he did business with. Right?
I can't tell you how many standoffs I had at the end of the night and said, you either pay what you told me you're going to pay, or there's going to be some furniture moving. So it's like it got to that point, and people, you know what? When you do set that standard for people, and people know you're like that, they don't do that to you again. They don't ever do that to you again. Even if they hire you again and you maintain a relationship with that club, they'll never treat you like that again. There's just something about the stigma of musicians, and we've had it for since the beginning of what I can remember of my life, where musicians are like, oh, that's a great hobby, People don't get that a lot of people feed their families being musicians on Long Island and in New York, and this is what we do, and so the club owners, we always say it's bar owner mentality, it's like the bar owner mentality of just, well, we really didn't draw that much, and we agreed on something. When your Coca-Cola guy comes in here, you agree to get 25 cases, you pay him for the 25 cases. We came in, we did what we were supposed to do, pay us what we were supposed to get paid, we're not asking for more. If you don't want us back, you don't have to have us back, just honor your commitment. There was so many of those kind of drastic conversations at the end of nights, back then. And then, gradually that goes away, though. Gradually, people end up going, all right, well, I don't feel like fighting with him. So maybe we should pay him, I don't know.
Mike,
yeah.
I just want to reset. Mike DelGuidice joining us here from the band Big Shot. They're playing Big Cork Vineyards. He's in Billy Joel's band when Billy Joel plays, and then he does Billy Joel music when Billy's not around. Yeah, I mean, back to the Jersey Shore and the roots of all of this stuff. In the 90s, Billy took some time, and Billy was very honest with me on the Stormfront tour about being ripped off. And I'm sure if you know him well enough, you know the stories he was ripped off by everybody, right? And that was a pretty common theme back in the 80s as well when I interviewed musicians that were getting ripped off, right? And I mean, all of them had stories like this. And in the 90s, Billy did that tour of universities where he was stripping down the music and explaining stuff. And he told me in the interview in '89 that he was looking to the end. And of course, he stopped making albums and all of that stuff. But is at that point where he has so much wisdom to kind of give about songwriting and structure and how much he loved the classical music and all of that. I'm sure there's a part of that rubs off on you being in the circle at this point. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I think of that time period with him, you're talking Stormfront, which if you interviewed him around the Stormfront time, then he was in the midst of so many life things going on in his life at that point that it could only produce another great album. And my favorite album is River of Dreams, and that I think is the reason. Well, you just explained the reason that he was going through all of his experiences at that moment that he was going to write his next album about. And when he came out with River of Dreams, I was absolutely blown away by that record. I still think it's his best. I think it's his voice at its best, his writing at its best, its most mature. I personally liked the production of it. Some people, didn't like the production of it. They thought he went a little away from the normal Billy thing. I don't know.
Well, it's a little better than Cold Spring Harbor and a few where they sped up his voice.
Yeah. I mean, you're either complaining because you have Danny Korchmar producing and you're recording in great studios and sounding so much sonically better than you ever did. It's much better than having a record company speed up an album and you sound like a chipmunk. So, which was not Billy's fault. So. It's nowadays we've come a long way. The business has definitely come a long way, that's for sure.
For you, with your love of Billy Joel's music and playing it every night, one of the really cool parts of having seen Billy beginning '84, and I've probably seen Billy 50 or 60 times through every era. My favorite era of Billy, not to disparage the current era, was the comeback in like '06 when I saw him 3 nights in a row at the Spectrum, and it was just insane, right?
Yeah,
like he was playing While the Night is Still Young, and just doing crazy stuff at that point.
Yeah,
And
I would say 12 Gardens Live right around that time, right?
Yes.
That was like 12. Yeah, that was my favorite. I would say that was Billy at his best live. He was unbelievable live. They played every song imaginable. You had also Richie had come back, Canada, and played a little sax. So
Richie did my show. Richie did my show in '06 when he came
man.
back.
And I'll tell you, when I saw that show, and I saw Mark's a hero of mine. The first concert I really watched was live from Long Island. We didn't have internet back then to find clips of early Billy videos, so it was either you were finding bootlegs or whatever, but Live from Long Island was the first one, and Mark was on that, not Richie. It was 1982. So I only really knew knew Billy visually with having Mark in the band. So, and then I got to know Richie, and then, I knew he always played on the earlier stuff and all that, but, and I knew the story behind, them switching and all that stuff. So when I got to finally meet Richie and do some gigs with him too, it was really cool. And then to have them both together, to see them both together, there was, for me as a fan, now I'm coming from a total fan standpoint, it was a really epic moment to see. And I don't know, that doesn't necessarily, describe the dynamic of what may have been going on stage, but I could tell you now that to me it was really exciting to see players from old and from current and from whatever, and all together and playing his music and playing songs that they'd never played. So yeah, that tour, I was pretty blown away too. I really enjoyed the Nassau Coliseum show. They did a show, and that's the first one I had seen with, in that tour. And I agree, the live album, 12 Gardens, has one of the best versions of While the Night is Still Young that I've ever heard.
My wife and I had a plan to go out to Vegas right around that time and see Billy was going to play the Hard Rock. And we had we had it all set up, and then Billy had, some off-the-field issues. I went away for a little while, came back, and he was so refreshed at that period of time that I went to a bunch of the shows. And I really thought at that time, this is as great as he's ever been. I wonder how long he's going to like this and do this and want to do this. And then this whole second act at the Garden happens, where I literally have many times just gone up and grabbed the Bolt bus for $20, right? Literally in the middle of the afternoon, do some work, get to New York, grab a ticket, go into the Garden, see the show, get on the 11:30 bus, and come back. I've done that about 5 times in the modern era because I feel like every night that he plays is a gift to me. And not to be, morbid or whatever, but we're all getting older. I saw Mick last month, right? I saw Streisand. I never take that for granted. I know you don't either. But in 2006, when I was seeing those shows, I really thought that he wouldn't want to do this the rest of his life. But he's really found some joy in this, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of the joy finally comes from that people. I think that people finally understand him, and and he's finally getting the love that he deserves. It's atrocious. All the years that he wrote that great music that we look back on and we say, oh, those were his best songs. He was in his prime, whatever. I couldn't get a good article or a good review from anybody. They just wanted to break this guy's chops no matter what he did, and they wanted to say he was this and say he was that. And the truth is, you can't. You won't really find a bad review from the last 6 years. It's hard to find even a bad paragraph. And because he's so loved, and because of who he is, because of what his music means to people, and to people's lives, and his music will bring you back to places in your life, and that's what music does in general. We know that, but with Billy, it's different because he's so descriptive and he's so literal. And I think it's been said he's the modern day Pop Gershwin kind of thing, and I would have to agree 100%. His music will be the only music that I think is going to last in the next 200 to 300 years. I think people will still love Billy Joel in 200 to 300 years because it's just passed on from generation to generation, and it's stuff that people really can grab onto and relate to. And it's that's his legacy to me. It's just his songwriting and his ability to translate a song into emotion and into feeling, where he just takes you somewhere, no matter where. If he's talking about Vienna, you feel like you're in Vienna. If he's talking about Brenda and Eddie, you feel like you know them. You were Brenda, or you were Eddie, or there's so many variables to Billy's stuff that just make it just. I sit on stage every night, and And I'll look over at him, and there's certain times, like, we'll play a certain song, and I'll just look over, and I'm like, that is a great song.
Like when Summer Highland Falls makes its way onto the, right?
I mean, like all those random little like gems, and we do Until the Night once in a while, and I get to duet with him and forget it. I'm in heaven on those nights.
How about Zanzibar, man? You guys whip that every once in a while.
Oh, my God, yeah, and Carl gets to really play. Carl Fisher's a great trumpet player, and he really gets to stretch his legs on that. And so does Billy with the jazzy kind of stuff. And I'll tell you, man, it's been a really great 6 years, and we've covered a lot of his material. If not all of it, almost all of it. And if we haven't covered anything, it's because it's just really not coverable.
Am I allowed to audible anything out? Could I yell a song and you just can play it, right? Like anything.
I know, and not necessarily.
So there's some stuff I could really screw you up with, sleep with the television on, or something crazy, right?
Yeah, for the whole band. Well, for the whole band, yeah. I might know a lot more than the rest of the band.
But I'm not messing you. Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Or the rest of the band at times will know songs that I didn't because they did Moving Out and did certain songs and I didn't. So there'll be times of that where it's just I don't know a certain like James or one of those tunes where if somebody else was playing it and I had lyrics in front of me, well, hell yeah, I would sing it all the way through. I know the songs in my head like the back of my hand, but not necessarily in my hands. Billy's tunes are not the kind of songs, they're not the typical chord changes like a typical rock band. You can't just sit down and go, oh yeah, I'll get through this. You're not getting through.
You can't fake it till you make it, yeah.
You're not getting through his songs if you haven't sat or at least played it in the last week or the last 2 weeks, or his songs will disappear from your memory on the piano very fast. Not the lyrics, not the melody, but the piano playing. Because his chord changes are they're very diverse, they're very different, and still yet somehow behind all of that different movement and chords and weird chord changes and great bridges, and he maintains such amazing melodies. It doesn't make him lose the melody. Like some bands, like progressive bands like Rush or whatever, they get so progressive that their melodies would suffer. They didn't know what to sing when there's that much music going on under it or whatever. But with Billy, it's just different. You can't just sit down and just say, I'm going to play Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. You have to learn Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. You can't just sit down and say, I'm going to play Vienna right now, because good luck trying to play that intro when you haven't played it in like a month or whatever. You are going to smash it up. You know what I mean? It's going to be a car crash. You never see his chord changes coming or where they're going to go. They're just not typical 1-4-5 rock and roll tunes. You know what I mean? They're just not. So you really got to, he backs himself into that corner. He forgets his own stuff sometimes,
Mike DelGuidice is here, celebrating the music of Billy Joel and more. A bottle of red, a bottle of white. No better place to do that than at Big Cork Vineyard, on Saturday night. I'm going to be there. My wife's going to be there. It is singular, but the wine can be plural if you wish. Gates open at 6:15. It's rain or shine. The weather's supposed to be nice. Bring a chair, bring a blanket. Kids under 4 are free. They got Hog It Up barbecue, the Sweet Farm food. This is not your first tour in a vineyard doing a bottle of red and a bottle of white, right?
It's the first time playing Big Cork. I don't know if we played it. I got to be honest. Over the years, I've done a ton of solo work at vineyards, but I'm not sure we've ever really done a big concert at a vineyard. Honestly.
So tell me about your band a little bit, because I think one of the intricacies, and I've seen a lot of the stuff you're doing in clubs. There's a lot of video of that. But the full band that you're going to bring, how does that work? And I know you have at various points brought members of Billy's band along with you on these sort of sojourns, right?
Yeah, we've had, the band varies. There's so many different, the Billy brand on Long Island is so big that there's a lot of tribute bands doing Billy now. Now it was one band, now there's like 6 or 7, 8 bands. And a lot of times, guys, when I'm not working, I don't begrudge them. They got to go work, they go work, they'll go play with some other guys. And it seems to be like a musical, family of musicians that know Billy's stuff. So on any given night, we can have any given sax player or a different guy.
It's like a bluegrass jam or something, right?
Yeah, but everybody knows what they're supposed to do.
Sure.
And I've played with every configuration of the players. But we have our main guys, that we normally go with, but they can't always make it, or they have other gigs. And
it's an all-star team, kind of, right?
Yeah, it really has become that. And no matter who we have on, I got to be honest, it's amazing. It's like a taste of something fresh. Every night we have the horn section with us too, which is real exciting because we get to do the tunes that Billy really doesn't do live a lot. Half a Mile Away, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Tell Her About It, if we break that out. So there's definitely tunes that we can add, and then we can break off and do other artists because we have the extra musicians also. And I'm a big Elton fan too, so we'll throw some of that in too. I was an early Elton fan before I was a Billy fan.
So my wife has had 2 bone marrow transplants. She's had her life saved on the bone marrow registry. And the night that the blood came the first time, I cranked the music because we're huge music fans, and I played "Someone Saved My Life" tonight. My wife's in the other room. She's had her life saved twice. So Billy and Elton and all music is the soundtrack of everyone's life who loves music, right? Like
hysterically enough, if you watch our live feed from the last show in Rocky Point, which is just about 4 days ago. And I don't think I've ever played the song. I did "Someone Saved My Life" tonight, 4 days ago at a Big Shot show. I did a medley.
Mike, pack that for Saturday night, okay?
I will definitely. You have to remind me. Shoot me a text and remind me. I definitely would love to do that. It's one of my favorite.
Last thing for you, because you got to go, and we're going to all be there Saturday night. It's Big Cork Vineyards. You can learn more at bigcorkvineyards.com. The music of Billy Joel, Big Shot, Mike DelGuidice is our guest. What's your favorite Billy Joel song? As a kid, for 30 years, or does it change, or is that a silly question to ask at this point?
Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. That's it. Doesn't get better than that.
I'm a Vienna guy. Isn't that funny?
No, listen, there's a top 5, obviously. There's always going to be a top 5. And Vienna sits in the top 5 for me. But when it comes to, if you could pull off a 7-minute song and keep somebody's attention, it's impressive to me. It's his epic song. It's his Bohemian Rhapsody. It goes from one section to another and somehow manages to get back, and just the way it was arranged, and it just never gets old. The song never ever gets old to me because it has so much to it.
Best 7-minute song, and it doesn't even have Phil Rizzuto in it. Meatloaf had to resort to that to get through it, right?
Exactly. Bottom of the third. Yeah. No, he's round in second. No, Billy doesn't. Billy's to me, Scenes is it. And if I'm going beyond Scenes, and then it can change week to week. But that always stays my overall. Wow, man! If you listen to that song for more than you have to listen to it a few times if you've never heard it because it's 7 minutes. But once you do, and it gets in your bloodstream, and the story gets in your blood, it's just one of those songs that's just so epic. And even instrumentally, dynamics. It goes from one place to another, and it brings you back to that final. It's just amazing. To me, that's just an amazing song. If I go beyond that, I say Summer Highland Falls for sure. A lot of great ones. I love These Days. I love that song. Great Wall of China. I love everything off of River of Dreams. So I mean, it's hard to always pick one. But I would say Scenes. Scenes always stays for me.
Billy has frustrated me a lot in the modern era when he gets about 3 songs in and he moves his music around. He says, "All right, we get to the part of the show where we're going to play Vienna, or you idiots are going to pick another song, and I'm not going to play Vienna." And there've been a couple of times where the idiots in the crowd didn't pick Vienna, and this has frustrated me. You understand that, though, right? He never audibles out of Scenes, man, right?
No. And the thing is, I'll be honest with you. I can only remember one time where Vienna didn't win ever on this last run.
So it's not like ketchup and mustard and relish in a hot dog race, right? No,
it's a given win. Vienna's a given win against any song, but he'll never put it against the Scenes or a Piano Man or whatever because those are the epics. Those are the whatevers. But he puts it against Just the Way You Are. He puts it against. It wins every time, and it's an album cut. I mean, it wins everywhere. It never loses. It's never lost yet. I've never changed the guitar. Usually I got to take the guitar off to go to another guitar for a different song. And whenever I know that there's a choice between that and something else, I just keep the Vienna guitar.
I hit a nerve with you, didn't I, in this one?
I'll tell you right now, Vienna is a monster live song. It's probably one of the biggest live songs we do. People go nuts for it.
All right, slow down, you crazy child. You got a couple of shows here this weekend before we get you down here at Big Cork. Hey, we'll see you on Saturday night at Big Cork Vineyards. It's been a great pleasure talking to you and sharing some Billy Joel love with you, man. And we'll look forward to hearing you do your magic on Saturday night, all right?
Can't wait. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
You got it. Mike DelGuidice joining us here from Long Island. Big Shot is the band. Big Cork Vineyards is the place Saturday night. Labor Day weekend. My wife and I are heading out just west of Fred. It's beautiful. The wine's great. The vineyard's great. The mountains around it are great. The stars are going to be great. I'm predicting a beautiful Labor Day weekend with the music of Billy Joel and Big Shot. That's Mike DelGuidice. He's in Billy Joel's band. Google him. I'm going to give you the spelling on that, too. It's DelGuidice. Go find him. Get his story. It's one of the most amazing stories in rock and roll, and he was just a part of the show. We're thrilled, and thrilled to be partnering with our friends out at Big Cork and Randy and the whole crew out there for taking care of us on Saturday night. We hope to see you out there at the show. Meantime, we're getting ready for football. We got Baltimore Positive this week, Ron Shapiro, as well as Dick Cass. We're getting you ready for the Ravens in Miami next week. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube, WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Billy Joel and Baltimore sports.